Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope everyone's staying warm during this winter storm. We are so excited to be back with a new 90 Stories for 90 Years interview. If this is your first time joining us, we are celebrating 90 years of Fraternity and Sorority Life being on DePaul's campus. So we are interviewing faculty, staff, students, and advisors about their experience. So I'm really excited to be joined this afternoon with Ashley. So Ashley, if you want to go ahead and kick us off with an introduction. If you want to say, the university you attended, chapter membership, and your role at the university.
Sure. Hi, Natalie, and thanks for having me. I am Ashley Knight, and I am one of the Associate Vice Presidents for Student Affairs here at DePaul. I've been here for 6 years, and in my time here, I've also served as Dean of Students and as Title IX coordinator and various roles in Title IX. So that's been one area of focus for me, and I'm very much involved in providing the supportive services for students at DePaul, everything from counseling to the Center for Students with Disabilities, residence life, and health promotion and wellness, and a lot of Dean of Students office, a lot of different offices. So that's what I do at DePaul. And I went to Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois, and I was a member of Pi Beta Phi, which is always shortened to Pi Phi. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about them today, it'll be about Pi Phi.
So tell us why you decided to join your chapter and how it shaped your undergraduate experience.
Well, I was one of those students who arrived at college as a 17-year-old. So I, had my 18th birthday after I got to college. I was a very young student, and I didn't know a lot about what college would be like. I grew up in a small town, and so this was all very new to me. Not that it isn't new to everyone. I know it is, but that's my memory, is that it was, quite a big shock. And I didn't know a lot about Greek life, but I learned quickly that it was an important part of the social fabric of the university, that Greek life was very strong at Bradley, and that it was a potential place for me to make new friends, to have a group of people that I could fit in with, join in with, have kind of that safety net of people that would know me and I would know them. And so all of those things really appealed to me as a young person. It was really very soon that I learned that there's also a lot of leadership opportunities and that there are other things that are involved in being in a sorority. But I have to say that the first thing that drew me there was friends and having a social life.
And I think that's such an important piece, that so many students, when they come to college, they are looking for that new sense of family, because they were probably on a sports team or a club in high school. And then when they come to college, they're like, where am I going to go and find that? And I think Fraternity and Sorority Life is a great place to start, because you have this instant connection with people that, share similar interests and values of your own.
Absolutely. And I could see that right away, that you could find like-minded people that you would want to spend time with and that you want to get to know and that you could learn and grow from. And so I had so many friends that I developed over those years, as a freshman, but then also, all the way through school, as I engaged with others in my sorority and in other sororities and fraternities on campus. I ended up rooming with a Gamma Phi Beta for a while after I got to be right between when I graduated and went to work. And she's still one of my dear friends. So fraternity and sorority life can really provide those kinds of lifelong friendships across not only your own organization, but other organizations as well.
And so kind of to go back to the values part of Fraternity and Sorority Life. So what is your favorite value or commitment of Pi Phi, and why?
Well, Pi Phi talks about integrity and honor and respect and friendship as some of their key values. And I would say that even today, I still talk about respect and integrity as being a big part of my current values. And so even as a very, as a late teenager, joining in and hearing about those values and seeing how they were lived out and watching people mentor me as they lived out those values, those things really did happen, from the older women in the sorority to alumna that we worked with, that would provide mentorship opportunities. And so those things were really important to me. I think also, philanthropy, big part of all, I don't know if everyone understands that in fraternities and sororities, that there's always a philanthropic contribution. And in Pi Phi, it was, and still is, about education and literacy. So as an educator and as someone who wants to make the world a better place, what better way to think about that and to do that than to provide books for people who need them, and provide education for people who may not have the same opportunities. And so it's early on, I started to learn about those strong philanthropic values, and still to this day contribute to Pi Phi's literacy efforts.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool how you've been able to connect, Pi Phi's philanthropic cause to your current role. And I know you were kind of talking about how Fraternity and Sorority Life gives you also so many leadership opportunities. And so how has all that tied into preparing you for the professional world, and kind of what are some of your other big takeaways from the sorority experience?
Well, as soon as I got into Pi Phi and I started looking around and seeing that there were these leadership opportunities, I joined different committees and, got involved in different projects and things. And it wasn't long before I realized that I wanted to contribute towards change, that I wanted to make us better and wanted to make Greek life at Bradley better. And so I actually ran for chapter president and was elected as chapter president when I was a sophomore. And so I was leading women who were older than me and, learning to build those bridges to the first year students that were coming in, through the juniors and seniors who had been there for a while, was a great experience, a great learning and leadership experience. I also learned that, the women, there were 80 women in my fraternity and, or my sorority. We were a women's fraternity. And they, they all came from, as much as they had similar values, there were a lot of differences. And so how do you learn how to bridge those differences between individuals? People were brought up in very different ways. They came from very different family backgrounds. It was certainly not, kind of a one size fits all. And so how to lead in that environment and to get people on the same page was a huge learning experience for me. I will never forget being a chapter president. The opportunity to lead initiation as a chapter president was a really special moment. And so those kinds of things really challenged me and encouraged me to be a leader as I went on, in my life. And so I could never really back off from the call to leadership. I think when you have a call to leadership, you continue to answer it, throughout your life. And for me, it started there, but continued as I went on in my career. And I've been serving in student affairs roles at 3 different universities, growing as a dean and now as an AVP, and in many, many other roles. So I think that being in a sorority really helped prepare me for that. And especially, again, that idea of bridging differences and helping people to get on the same page.
And I always, talk with chapter presidents about how when you are a chapter president or have any leadership role in your fraternity or sorority, it's like running a business. And I don't think they often think about that. There's so many, similarities and transferable skills that you are going to learn. And, you were kind of talking about how to work through differences or how to manage a budget or plan different events. There's so many skill sets that are very similar to the professional world that you're going to be able to talk about, in that interview that you have. And so I often remind them, well, it's one of the most challenging jobs as an undergraduate student. You are going to also gain so much from that as well.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up things like budget and things. That was probably my first my first taste of that, of understanding that our dues came in and they needed to be applied in a way that was fair and equitable and aligned with our values, and and things that really matter as you go forward in the business world, in thinking about how you value things like budgeting and finance and fundraising and that kind of thing. So you're right.
So you've been at DePaul for 6 years. So how have you seen the DePaul Fraternity and Sorority Life community evolve during your time?
So I think there are a couple of things that come to mind. One is that I have watched the community become more interested and committed to education and, I guess the word is, a sense of responsibility around sexual and relationship violence and around substance misuse and some of the things that we see happen on our campus. And obviously I've served in these roles, so that's one of the areas that, why it's close to me that I would think of these things. But, I think that over the years, individual fraternities have decided we're going to do education around this. We're going to bring someone in and talk to us about what is consent and how can we as men in fraternity life here at DePaul contribute in a positive way to this community. So I've really seen that evolve and continue to evolve. And I want to just keep saying, yes, go for that, because it's been such a great change and a great emphasis for really the men in the fraternities, but also women in sororities being vocal about what they want to see in terms of our university values and our university policies and procedures and things like that. So that's one real big one. But I think from a national perspective, we're seeing a lot around diversity, inclusion, and equity in the fraternity and sorority life community that is really a new thing. It's a new day. We've all watched this happen in our world, but at the national level, there's a real focus on reforms to eliminate structural and systemic barriers. And so I think that I'm watching that with a great deal of interest, and my sorority is doing some work nationally around that. They have put together a national committee. They're doing fundraising. They're examining all their policies and procedures and figuring out where those places of inequity are and how they can make changes. So like an example is, the legacy new membership concept is really considered inequitable. And it's been something that has been, permeating the sorority and fraternity lives for years. And for us to change that is a big deal. But as a national, we're making a national commitment, I would say, across all different fraternities and sororities to make changes in that regard. And I really think this year and next year are going to be really big changes in that. Have you seen that, Natalie?
I have. I think when you were kind of talking about like the legacy policy, that's something my own organization, Alpha Chi Omega, is eliminating. And I think it has needed to be done for so many years. And so I'm glad people are holding our organizations accountable, because we all want to see them continue to flourish and be around, for the next 100 years. And I think they're only going to be able to do so if they, listen to the students and really meet them where they're at. Because I think when you're talking about, really seeing this like sense of care and responsibility around sexual violence and education and diversity and inclusion, I think back to like Take Care of DePaul and how I think our students in Fraternity and Sorority Life are really thinking about like, what is my role in Take Care of DePaul as a fraternity or sorority life member. And I think during my time, I think when you're kind of talking about education, just seeing how, our chapters are much more connected with our counseling services and health promotion and wellness, and feeling that they can go to the dean of students and talk through different issues that they're having and not waiting until the issue has already happened. And I think it's been really cool to like see that evolution from our community.
Yeah, I'm glad you've seen that, because I really think that's what I noticed. And it's real substantive change. It's changing systems, and it's changing attitudes, and it's changing really how fraternities and sororities are going to be viewed at DePaul,
Mhm.
going forward. And so I really applaud all the work that's been done and continue to encourage them to keep going.
Yeah, and I wanted to continue to encourage them to like hold each other accountable, because I think at the end of the day they all have the same goals and they have each other's best interests at heart. And so I think if they keep, up with their goals and their initiatives, I think they're going to continue to grow and flourish in our community, because I think DePaul is a very special fraternity life community, even though they don't have like the housing, or they don't all like live on campus. I think it's still a very tight-knit community at DePaul.
Yeah, very much so. It's very impressive to see how much it's grown over the years, how we have new chapters coming on, and new councils coming on. There's just been a lot of good growth. And a lot of that's thanks to you too, Natalie, for the years that you've been here at DePaul, helping to really feed that and to help grow the community. I appreciate everything that you've done.
So, I mean, you've seen a lot of different events at DePaul with FSL, and so do you have any favorites or a favorite memory?
Yeah, I think the times that I've spent individually and with some chapters in working through some difficult and challenging times, those are things that aren't really seen on the outside very much. But as as we talked about before, I think that those moments when you see individuals deciding that they want to make change in their life or in their actions has been really important to me, and really also seeing the good in that is important. But I think another just very small thing that has meant a lot to me is that I've had the opportunity to put my Greek letters on again and come and join with the current fraternities and sororities and other staff and faculty, and just get together and be together and as one Greek community on this campus. And I hope that continues as well.
Yeah, that is a fun time during Fraternity for Life Week. So I know hopefully we'll be able to have that one day again in person. So
100%, yeah.
So what is your best advice for a student who is maybe on the fence or is seeking to join a fraternity or sorority?
Well, I think that consider what your goals are, and consider what type of people that you want to spend your time with. I think that if you have the opportunity to understand what the different houses are like, then you can decide that's who I want to align with, because these are going to be people that you're going to spend a lot of time with, and you're going to be affiliated with them, and that affiliation lasts forever. So I think choosing carefully, choosing wisely is always important. But I think also the idea that I learned about leadership and just choosing, where can I lead, where can I make a difference, and joining thinking that I want to contribute to this organization and to our campus, and making plans to do that, right from the beginning. Jump right in, get involved in committees, get involved in the things that matter to you, because there's so many things. I mean, we talk to different members who are, you spoke about budget. Maybe they just run the budget for the organization. That's what they do. They love it. And others really want to make sure that they're planning all the formals and all the social events and that kind of thing. And so wherever you feel called to, get involved in those things and make a difference.
Yeah, and I think like at DePaul, I mean, we have so many fraternities and sororities, and so I think you really have the opportunity to seek out a chapter that aligns with your values and is what you are looking for as well. I think, yeah, as your advice, like jump right in. I mean, the 4 years, or if you join, your junior or senior year, it's going to go really fast. And of course, you continue your membership after graduation, but I think there's something very special about that undergraduate experience. And so don't take it for granted, because it goes by very, very fast.
Totally.
So in closing, what is your favorite memory of being in your organization?
Well, all the things that I've shared about being a leader were really important and special memories. But also just living in a large sorority house, it was very elegant, like it was just such a pretty place to live. And we had a house mother, and so
Mhm.
she was someone that we got to learn from. But basically, we guided ourselves. We were a group of women that were guiding a community for ourselves. What did we want our community to be like? And we held each other accountable. And so, even though at DePaul people can't live in a fraternity or sorority house per se, they can make that choice
Mhm.
to make their community, what they want it to be like. So, all my memories of living in the house, eating meals together, having special meals. I still can remember, many of those experiences that were very special. And then, all of the social relationships, all the people that I met that I still know, that are still in my life, that are leaders doing other things around the world and in our country, I think is really a fond memory of making those deep friendships.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I still remember living in my chapter house, and you'll never get to live by your best friends like ever again. I mean, yes, you can travel to them, but it looks very differently. And I tell the students here that all the time. I'm like, you're never going to only live like one neighborhood or one block away. And so, take every opportunity to like hang out with your friends, whether that's like studying or just like having a chill night, because it's a really special experience.
I totally agree.
Well, thanks again, Ashley, for joining us and sharing your experience.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.